The story opens on a nest in a tree. Inside, a newborn chick shoves another out of the nest, sending it falling. The remaining chick settles in, ready to receive all the food from its mother. Next, we meet Gemma, an elementary school teacher, in the garden with her students. As class ends, one of the little girls stares at something on the lawn. Gemma walks over and sees two dead chicks on the ground. The girl asks who could have done that to them. Gemma explains that sometimes a bird called a cuckoo lays its eggs in other birds' nests, so it doesn't have to build its own. The girl calls it horrible, but Gemma replies, "That's just how nature is sometimes." Just then, Gemma's boyfriend Tom, who works as a groundskeeper at the school, arrives. He sees the dead birds and, to spare the little girl from staring any longer, buries them with his shovel. A little later, Gemma and Tom are in their car, talking about finding a new house because they dislike their current place. They decide to visit a real estate agency to see what's available. At the office, they are helped by a man named Martin. His behavior is odd, with a fixed smile and unnatural movements. Gemma explains they're looking for their first home. Martin tells them about a new development called Yonder. He describes it as a quiet place with everything they need and mentions that the houses are selling fast. He shows them a brochure with a picture of identical green-colored houses. When they ask where it's located, Martin gives a vague answer, saying it's both very near and very far, at the right distance. Martin suggests they go see the place right then. Tom is a bit hesitant, but Gemma is curious. Martin warns them that if they wait, all the houses might be sold. Finally, the couple agrees. They get in their car and follow Martin's vehicle. The drive takes them out of the city to a subdivision where every single house is exactly the same. The sky also looks strange, with perfect clouds that don't seem real. The neighborhood is silent and empty. Martin pulls up in front of house number 9 and invites them in. As they walk to the entrance, Tom mentions to Gemma how weird everything is, but they decide to go on. Inside, the house is furnished in a simple, generic way that lacks personality. Martin shows them the living room and offers them a bottle of champagne and some strawberries as a welcome gift. Gemma tells him she can't drink because she's driving, and Tom turns down the strawberries. The tour continues through the kitchen and then upstairs. Martin shows them a small room already set up as a nursery, painted blue and with a crib. He asks if they have children, and when they both say not yet, Martin repeats their words in a strange way. Afterward, he leads them to the master bedroom and finally to the backyard. The yard is small and surrounded by a fence, just like all the other houses. While Tom and Gemma look around, Martin stands silently for a moment and then vanishes. The couple realizes they are alone. They call out for Martin, but there's no answer. They go outside and see that Martin's car is gone. Tom is fine with this, as the salesman made him uncomfortable, and now they can leave without making excuses. They get into their car and start driving, looking for the way out of the neighborhood. However, all the streets are identical. They turn one corner and then another, but they always end up passing the same row of greenhouses. After driving for a while, they find themselves back in front of house number 9. They notice the front door, which they had left open, is now closed. Confused, they try another route. They keep driving through the maze of streets, but the result's the same. They return to house number 9 again and again. Tom's frustration grows, and he asks Gemma to let him drive, thinking he can find the exit. They switch seats, but it's no use. Gemma pulls out her phone to use the GPS, but there's no signal. Tom's phone doesn't have one either. As they continue to circle, night begins to fall. The car keeps going until finally they run out of gas right in front of house number 9. They turn off the engine and sit in silence. Trapped in the deserted neighborhood, they decide to spend the night in house number 9. Inside, the only food available is the bottle of champagne and the strawberries Martin had offered. They open the box and, although they aren't hungry, they each try a strawberry. Gemma remarks that it has no taste, like eating air. They go up to the master bedroom to sleep. The silence of the place is absolute and overwhelming, something Gemma has never experienced before. The next morning, Tom gets an idea. He climbs onto the roof of the house to try to get his bearings and see beyond the other houses. However, all he can see is an endless landscape of identical houses stretching to the horizon. Even the clouds in the sky look fake, all sharing the same perfect shape. Despite the discouraging view, Tom doesn't give up. He suggests to Gemma that they try to escape on foot, following the direction of the sun. They plan to take a shortcut by hopping the backyard fences. They begin to walk, crossing one identical yard after another. Hours pass, and the sun starts to set. They are exhausted but keep pushing forward. As night falls, they spot a light on in one of the houses and run toward it, thinking they found someone. They enter, hoping for help, only to realize they are back in house number 9. When they step outside, they find a cardboard box on the curb. Inside is vacuum-packed food and toiletries. Frustration takes over. Gemma starts screaming at nothing, asking what is wanted from them. Tom, furious, decides to set the house on fire. His plan is to create a massive smoke signal so that someone will see them and rescue them. They use the cardboard box to start the fire. They sit on the curb and watch as the flames completely consume house number 9. Exhaustion overcomes them, and they fall asleep right there on the street. They wake up the next day covered in ash. In front of them is another cardboard box. Most shocking of all, the house they had burned down is back in its place, untouched, as if nothing had happened. They open the new box, and inside they find a baby. Next to the child is a note with a simple message: "Raise the child and you will be released." Following an instinct, Gemma picks the baby up in her arms. Time passes. We see that they have written the word HELP on the roof of the house. One day, the baby is no longer a baby. He is now a boy of about 7 or 8, even though only 98 days have passed. The boy is strange. He grows at an unnatural rate and has a habit of imitating Tom and Gemma. He mimics their arguments and copies their gestures perfectly. Furthermore, when he doesn't like something, he lets out a high-pitched, unbearable scream that only stops when he gets what he wants. Their routine becomes monotonous. Every day they receive a box with the same tasteless food. Tom, desperate, starts digging a hole in the small yard. He discovers the soil isn't normal. It's some kind of artificial material, like damp clay. He becomes obsessed with digging, thinking there must be something underneath, an exit or an answer. He spends all day in the hole, which gets deeper and deeper. Meanwhile, Gemma takes care of the boy, though she feels a growing repulsion toward him. One night, while Tom and Gemma are in their room, the boy spies on them from the doorway. Another day, the boy turns on the television. The screen doesn't show any recognizable channels, only strange patterns and moving abstract shapes that seem to mesmerize him. One afternoon, Tom and Gemma take refuge in their car. The inside of the car is the only place that still has a familiar smell, a reminder of their old life. They discover the battery still works and turn on the radio. A song plays, and for a moment, they forget where they are. They get out of the car and dance in front of the headlights, enjoying the small moment of normalcy. The boy sees them from the house, comes outside, and starts imitating them, moving awkwardly and ruining the moment. Tom trips and falls, and his anger toward the boy intensifies. Later, Gemma tries to put the boy to bed. Before leaving the room, he calls her mother. Annoyed, Gemma replies, "I am not your mother." In response, the boy begins to scream in that horrible, piercing way. Desperate, Gemma shakes him and asks what he wants, telling him he's been fed and cared for. The boy, in a voice that isn't his own, mimics the words Tom had said while digging, creating an even more unsettling situation. Gemma and Tom's relationship completely breaks down. Tom isolates himself. His only obsession, the hole he never stops digging. One day, fed up with the boy's screaming during breakfast, Tom snatches his food away, forcibly removes him from the house, and locks him in the car, intending to let him starve. He tells Gemma that thing isn't a person and that if their captors want it, they'll have to come and get it. Gemma, however, can't bear it. As soon as the boy stops screaming, she runs to get him out of the car, apologizing to him. From that moment on, she takes on the role of caregiver, while Tom dedicates himself exclusively to digging. One day, Gemma wakes up and can't find the boy anywhere. He has disappeared. She searches the neighborhood for him with no luck. Tom doesn't care. He's completely disconnected from everything except his hole. Hours later, the boy reappears in front of the house with a strange book in his hands. The pages are filled with unknown symbols and weird diagrams, similar to the patterns he watched on television. Gemma tries to get information out of him about where he was. She suggests they play a game of imitation. The boy imitates her, then Tom, and then a dog. Finally, Gemma asks him to imitate the person he saw when he was gone. What happens next is terrifying. The boy's throat puffs up in an inhuman way, producing a strange, vibrating sound. The horror confirms Gemma's suspicions. They are not raising a human being. Time speeds up again. The boy is now a young man, identical to Martin, the real estate agent. Tom, meanwhile, is growing weaker. He spends his days in bed, drained by the effort of digging and the strange atmosphere of the place. In a moment of clarity, Gemma laments not letting Tom kill the creature when it was a baby, but Tom tells her she's a good person and that's why she couldn't do it. One night, Tom, using his last bit of strength, unearths something at the bottom of the hole, a canvas bag containing a human corpse. Shortly after, he collapses from exhaustion. Gemma finds him lying on the street, dying. She tries to get him into the house, but the door is locked. The strange man is inside, watching television, completely ignoring her pleas for help. Gemma and Tom spend the night in the car. She begs the man for help, but he only replies, "Perhaps it is time for him to be released." Tom dies in Gemma's arms as they reminisce about the day they met and how, despite everything, they felt at home with each other. A moment later, the man appears with a body bag. He helps Gemma put Tom's body inside and then unceremoniously tosses it into the hole that Tom himself had dug. The next morning, filled with rage, Gemma waits for the man and attacks him with Tom's pickaxe. She manages to wound him, and as he tries to escape, he lifts a section of the sidewalk as if it were a lid, revealing a passageway. He slips through and Gemma follows. She falls into a strange dimension where everything changes color. She passes through parallel worlds, seeing other couples trapped in the same house, number 9, living the same cycle of raising a child only to be discarded. Finally, she falls back into her own house. Defeated, she walks outside. The man is there, waiting for her. Gemma asks him what the purpose of all this is. He coldly explains that she is a mother, a figure whose purpose is to raise beings like him so they can go out into the world. And once her purpose is fulfilled, the mother dies. Even though Gemma is still alive, he shoves her into a body bag. She tells him all they wanted was a home, and he replies that she is home. Her last words are, "I am not your stupid mother." The man throws her into the hole with Tom and then covers it. The earth instantly regenerates, leaving no trace of the hole. With his mission complete, the man fills the couple's car with gasoline, leaves yonder, and drives to the real estate agency. There, the original Martin, now very old and on the verge of death, hands him his name tag. The new Martin puts him in a bag, folds him up in an impossible way, and stores him in a filing cabinet drawer. He sits down at the desk, just in time to greet a new couple walking through the door, looking for a home. The cycle is ready to begin again.